Earlier in the third level work, Michael Poulin's riders demonstrated single flying changes. Now, Hilda Gurney devotes an entire session to perfecting the changes. First individual ones, then the Tempis.
Flying changes are one thing, I think of all things, probably the most difficult one movement for an amateur rider to train a horse. If you're an amateur and you want to train your horse, the one unnatural thing we have to teach our horse is a clean flying change. And what we mean by a clean flying change, that the flying change takes place. Shelley, want to just canter? And just show us, you can just walk, Todd is fine. Just show us a clean flying change. And the flying change takes place all within one stride. And just do a flying change, Shelley. And that was a lovely, clean flying change. And once more. And then walk, Shelley. That is your goal. When you first teach changes, you have to exaggerate the aids, and you have to often get the horse to jump up off the ground in half of a buck or half of a bolt or something that he does something to get off the ground so he can change, because a horse changes during the suspension period. So often they're difficult to feel. And if you're an amateur rider who has not done very many flying changes, the likelihood of you feeling that flying change, being clean or late, is not that good. So you need to either have somebody on the ground telling you, oh, it's clean, it's late, really fast. Or you need to put the horse in training for a month or two with an experienced rider and have them put the clean change on the horse. And then only do the changes under supervision. I would say clean changes are the most difficult movement for the amateur rider to train a horse. Now, flying changes should be started after the correct foundation is laid. And the correct foundation, second level, lays for us, and that's canter riders. And the first thing that every horse should know before it ever does flying changes is a straight canter. So if both of you can canter on the rail, and not only should the horse be straight, the horse should also be able to do shoulder in at the canter and be adjustable. So Shelley, stay a little inside the rail and do shoulder in at the canter. And this is something every horse should know before they can do flying changes without losing their lead. And now a simple change to the counter lead. So walk, and you do your half halt before you walk, counter, canter, and do counter shoulder in. And counter shoulder in. So shoulder in to the right. So you're shoulder inning toward the lead. And that you can ride your horse straight, and you can do a good simple change. And do the same thing again, riders. And you can decrease the shoulder into shoulder 4 for a normal canter, since we ride canter and shoulder 4 anyway. You should not start flying changes until a horse can do that. You should not start flying changes till counter canter is totally established and you have control, because to teach Tempi changes, you're always changing to and from the counter canter, and if you can't control the counter canter, you can't count your Tempi changes. You have to have absolute control of the counter canter. And you should also have control of the counter canter with the head going a little bit left and right, the little bit of flexion I showed yesterday there, no more than that, now to the right. And that you should be able to do that on any lead and show that the counter canter is held with your weight aids. Shelley sitting with her body turned to the right, her left leg back, her right leg at the girth, both hands to the right. And her counter canter is held in collected canter and straight. And she can flex the horse left, she can flex the horse right, she can flex the horse left. And those things you should be able to do before you ever think flying changes. Thank you, Shelley. And if your horse is successfully competing at second level, the way these excellent tests are written, you are all set up for your flying changes, which you have to show at third too. So the second level tests really help make sure you have the foundation for flying changes. All right, we say this horse is ready for flying changes. And flying changes are naturally a little bit of a movement of excitement. And these horses are Grand Prix horses, so they're not going to get particularly excited anymore about doing a flying change. But when you teach them, you usually don't mind if your horse gets a wee bit excited, because that sort of helps them get the idea. And a pattern I often use, and I'll vary, there's a million patterns to use teaching flying changes, and I'll vary them according to the need of the horse. Horses that rush, I use different patterns than horses that don't. But Todd will show you a pattern that I frequently use. Todd, I want you to canter left, change rein across the half diagonal F to E, and anywhere after the center line toward E, walk and do a walk haunches in. To the right. So he's going to canter. And you can start counterflexing a little bit in that corner. Just to set up. Now walk. And do a slight right haunches in and demand immediate obedience to the left leg. And now straighten and canter right. Canter right. Now, the next time, Todd, where you walked and did your haunches in, and that's just to get the horse to immediately respond, to jump away from the outside leg. And you'd normally, if you teach flying changes, if you have a whip, you would put it, Todd, just do an example for them. I know you don't need it. Do a large circle and put the whip in your left hand. You would carry the whip in the left hand so that the horse didn't do the change. You could reinforce your leg aid. Now, Todd, before you do the flying change, let me explain the aids for the flying change. The aids for the flying change are exactly the same aids for the canter depart, except you slightly release the pressure on the inside leg at the moment of the change. As Todd changes rein, he's flexing the horse very slightly to the right to set up for the, he's on the left lead, pretend he's on the left lead, and he's going to set up for the right change. He's going to level his body aids. He's not going to turn his body as much to the left. He's not going to carry his hands as much to the left as he normally would. And as he approaches the flying change, he's also going to even out his leg aids. So he's not going to be carrying his right leg as far back. So the horse knows the change is coming. And the horse must wait. These are we call them neutral aids. We neutralize our aids. But the horse must wait. He must not change the second you neutralize your aids. He must hold the canter and the lead he's on until you tell him different. Now, as Todd gets close to the flying change, he's going to do some half halts. He's going to energize the horse. And then the stride before the change. The horse has already been changed in the bend. He's going to turn his body to the right. Do that. Both hands right. Left leg back. And he's going to release the strong pressure on the right leg. Release slightly the right leg. Exaggerate the release, so not that much. You don't take it off, just so that you lighten the pressure slightly. And the moment he feels the change comes through, and you give the right rein at the moment he changes. He doesn't give when he gives the aid, but he gives with the right rein at the moment he feels the horse jump into the change to let the inside hind come really through so he doesn't block it. And the second he feels that horse jump into the change, he starts pushing with his inside leg and seat bone and carries on in a wonderful collected canter to the right. So, do that. So right now his body's turned left, his shoulders are turning left, his left leg's at girth, his right leg's back, he's sitting on the left seat bone. Now he's leveling the straightness, he's leveling his seat bones, he energizes the horse, half halts the horse, and puts the left leg back, puts the inside hip forward, puts the inside leg just behind the girth, slightly releases it, and gives it the inside rein. Did you see all that? Do it again, Todd. Thank you. Now you'll say, why did I have the horse do haunches in at the moment I asked for the change? That was to get the horse to give the idea of jumping away from the outside leg rather than moving forward from the outside leg. And the horse stays straight actually at the moment of the change, although straightness is not the most important criteria at all when you start changes. When you start changes, your most important criteria is whether they are late or clean. And we don't have a green horse in here to show you late changes, and we're not going to put these horses late because late's always a problem. So you don't want to ever do it on purpose. You do it often enough, not trying to. But if you have a horse that's crooked any old which way into a change, you have a high probability of having a late behind change.